everybody, welcome to our channel. My name is Elena.
I'm Erin.
And today we're going to discuss and review a book series that's been getting a lot of buzz recently. I just finished it literally last night. Erin finished it like a week or two ago. So, what's the series called?
One Dark Window and the sequel, Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. It's definitely called Shepherd King series.
Wow, for some reason I thought it was called like the deck, the prophecy deck or something. That's what it should be called. But
I don't know. Why the prophecy? Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay. The way you said deck, my mind went elsewhere for 1 second. No, I forgot. I gotta get you back into this.
Yeah. You know, like the deck of
the
cards.
deck of cards, yeah.
I think what we'll do is start with a kind of spoiler-free review, and then we'll get into the spoilers. So if you've read the series and you want to hear our thoughts on it, we're gonna let you know.
We're gonna get into it. So, this series revolves around the main character who is plagued by a monster that lives in her head, and she ends up teaming up with this like unlikely band of highwaymen to unite a deck of magical cards that will
Save the kingdom!
Save the kingdoms from this like magical mist that like snatches people and all this crazy stuff.
Evil
And
mist.
hopefully will take the monster out of her head, or that's what she's hoping for.
I think that if you like fast-paced fantasy, you'll really like this book. It's definitely fast-paced. The action is great.
The series is all vibes. It is misty, dark, moody,
Yes.
like it will put you in that place.
Yeah, it's definitely really transported, and there are a lot of classic fantasy elements like a magical mist and, you know, a nightmare trapped in your head. But I think this book does it in such a unique way.
And it does have a romance element. I wouldn't say it's the focal point of the stories, would you? I mean, it is, but it's not. I wouldn't call it romance fantasy.
Yeah.
What is that?
Romantasy.
Romantasy. But I mean, it's there, and I love romance, so like I appreciated that element, but I wouldn't say it revolves around it at all.
I agree.
Yeah. And so then the second book just builds on obviously what happens in the first, and really just like fleshes out everything that was left hanging in the first. I think in a very well done way. It's a duology.
Yeah, and it focuses on some different characters, so you're able to see another side to the story that's happening.
Yeah. It's good.
It is good. But notice we're not saying like it's spectacular.
Amazing. Yeah.
It didn't blow our minds.
Apart from the title, the cover art. Like, I
the
am
cover art.
absolutely obsessed with the cover art on both of these books.
Gorgeous. And representative of the story that's inside, which is not a given, you know?
Yeah. I think we both, I don't know what you rated the first one, but I think I gave both books a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the 4 out of 5 star rating.
Where do you think it falls short a little bit?
Okay, so let's get into some spoiler type talk so I can tell you what bothered me about this book. Never have I liked a book so much while hating the main characters so much. The main character, hater.
Wait, you said plural, so you didn't like...
And the main love interest? Sorry,
I did
no,
not know
what?
that. Yeah.
Why would anyone like this guy? I don't...
I mean, his name is Raven, which is like a red flag for me.
So true.
You did not want to like a dude named Raven. No.
His whole thing is he's like austere and like military man. He never shows emotions. There's a part where he speaks like 3 sentences and his mother says, "I've never heard you speak so much, Raven." Like,
Terry, yeah.
Every woman's dream. He never speaks. Hot. The main character, okay. Elspeth is the epitome of the main female character who lacks agency. This chick has to be told to run from a fight. She's not participating in the fight. She literally has to be told to even run away.
Yeah.
Come on, on, girl. Like,
yeah, and I mean, it was like pretty frustrating that over and over she gets herself in like some tricky situations,
serious trouble.
and it's like, oh, you didn't expect this, and then suddenly she goes, help me,
Oh God,
help me, and I'm like, you idiot, like, why
Hello?
did you get yourself here?
What did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how are you planning to get out of this without help? Why did you put yourself in this situation? Because the whole point is, like, the more help she gets from the nightmare in her head, the more the nightmare takes over her body.
Her body.
So why she's always, like, putting herself in these situations and then being like, oh, crap, I need help now, and gives the nightmare more power by doing so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's literally giving up her bodily autonomy to get out of these sticky situations that she walked into.
Yeah.
I just did not like her at all. I listened to the first book in audiobook, and the narrator's voice, whenever she would ask for help, was so grating. She would just be like, help me! I was like, oh my God, I cannot with you right now. Like, I kind of hope you die in this scene.
But not the nightmare, because he was a good character. He's good.
The nightmare in her head, if you look at the series with him in your lens as the main character, chef's kiss. Loved him. I was rooting for him all the way through. Complex, interesting character.
They sorely lacked the banter that you would have wanted between the nightmare and her. You know, in her head, you had so much to play with that, as far as I'm concerned. And her responses back to him were they just did not hit. Like, they just made her sound like a petulant child, which,
lackluster.
I mean, he was such a good character, and he didn't have the right foil, I think.
True, that's such a good point. Yeah, there really was no true foil.
But the second book focuses on Elm, and I loved him.
Loved Elm. Yeah.
He was I thought he was
a much better main character. He had so much more personality than Raven. He was genuinely funny and interesting and easy to root for.
Yeah, and his flaws, like, made sense. You know, like, his whole character made much more sense. It was much more relatable in a way than Raven's was. And I loved Ione.
Yeah, Ione. I liked her too.
I really liked her, and I liked learning, because in the first book, you find out, you know, that she, like, uses her maiden card all the time, which I also, like, couldn't get over this maiden card thing.
Yes. I know. I couldn't stop thinking about that
Yeah.
concept. It's like a magic card that gives you great beauty, transforms you into this beautiful person. But the longer you use it, the less you are able to access emotions, and you become cold and heartless over time.
See, but this is the other problem I had with it, is that all of the magical cards, just like the maiden card, had, like, their own ability and then their own drawback, thank you. But they all seemed so different in their timing and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So, like, Ione literally is using this maiden card for months.
So true!
Months.
So true!
And by the end of the second book, she's basically still using this maiden card, and I'm sorry, but she is not, like, super cold-hearted. I mean, she definitely is leaning that way.
She's feeling something,
yeah. But after months, you'd think she would literally be
a robot.
A robot. Compared to then using one of the...
Like the scythe card?
The scythe card, yeah.
People would use that for like 1 second.
Yes, and they're like dying of pain because the drawback for the scythe card is pain. And it's like, how are these two cards?
It's not very balanced.
It felt like such like a convenient plot point.
Yes.
That one was immediate and the other one was...
You could use for months on it.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, and you had pointed something out to me that I didn't even realize. And then going into the second book, I was like, she's right. Half the cards, I don't even know what they do.
Yeah.
They weren't really relevant. So
it was so odd.
They didn't come in, and I don't even remember half of them. There's like 5 that I know really well.
Yeah, there's like, because they obviously talk about the Black Horse card.
How many are there? 12?
I think
13?
There's 12.
12.
But then I didn't even realize until it was briefly mentioned that there's a White Horse card. And I was like, well,
yeah, what does that do?
What does the White Horse card do? I've never heard of it before.
Or like the Iron Gate? What was that?
I don't know. Or even, like they literally only use 5 cards and the other ones just never...
Don't really come up.
Which just felt, it was odd.
Yeah.
Like,
missed opportunity.
Don't have 12 if...
Yeah, it should be a deck of 5 then. Yeah, that was the other thing. When she gets pulled into the drama, I'm like, ooh, okay, here we go. Epic quest. We gotta gather all the cards. And they're like, actually, we already have 8 of them.
one card they're trying to find, they're like, we have literally no absolute idea where it is.
Yeah.
It has not been seen in centuries, but
500 years.
And it's like,
but I'm sure we'll find it.
Okay. With what? Like, you have nothing to go on.
Blind optimism.
Like, and they literally just get lucky that they figure out that the nightmare happens to know where it is. I mean, another convenient. Of course, I mean, I understand, but reading it, sometimes it felt a little too convenient or not quite as, like, well tied together.
Planned out.
Yeah, as I would have preferred.
And yet, it was so enjoyable to
It was
read
good.
because it was very unique.
Mhm.
It felt like something totally new. The world building was kind of like snow globe style, you know? You're kind of in this small area. There's no indication of a greater world out there, you know? No one's referring to a continent here or anything.
Yeah.
It's mainly just the one
Just
city.
the town.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But it's so detailed and descriptive that I didn't necessarily miss that greater world building element. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really need to know about the other continents on this planet or whatever.
Yeah, I think it like added to the whole feel, you know, they're all trapped in this basically in their little town because of the mist cutting them off from the rest of the world. So we feel cut off from the rest of the world, you know, like we only know what they know, we only see what they see. And I like the spirit in the wood.
Oh, I was just about to say, what did you think of the villain? Because I loved her as a villain. I mean,
Yeah.
villain is maybe, she's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, well that's what I like, is she is ambiguous. I really liked how when we're finally introduced to her, she pulls Raven into a time, like, what's time travel?
Another dimension. I mean, a parallel,
What
she
is
time
it?
travels.
Yeah, she time and you're in like 2 seconds. She's like, time means absolutely nothing to me. Like I'm just doing it whatever I want all the time. And you're like, dang.
Like, oh. She was just interesting.
Yeah.
She was really interesting.
She felt powerful. Like she felt like I don't care. You know, like I am above you, and
this is all meaningless to me.
Yeah, and I like that. I hate when they get like too petty in the lives of whatever.
Or they're like, these are your gods, but then you find out that they have flaws and they're like actually kind of human.
Yeah, they're not.
Opposed
Yeah.
and things.
You didn't get that feeling here. I didn't.
No.
No. Loved the Shepherd King and the fact he shepherds trees and how the trees.
That was so cool. When they revealed that, I was like, whoa! I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Even though she was pretty heavy-handed with the names there, like the Shepherd King, Blunder, you know.
Oh yeah.
And like
I never thought about
the
that.
guy that betrayed the Shepherd King was literally named Brutus. I was like, okay, we get it. I was gonna betray him.
A little on the nose.
I feel like the imaginative elements are definitely there in this story. She just needed a little extra time to plan it out more carefully.
Yeah. What else?
The nuance is missing. I have a super spoilery thing that I was a bit like, what? When it happened? This is like hella spoilers, so if you haven't read it, don't listen to what I'm about to say. But at the very end, Raven is fighting Hoth. I thought it was so cool when he ripped the card. I was like, oh my god, you know. And then he just gets stabbed.
Yeah. He fails. He flat out fails.
Yeah. This is a character we have seen him beat up in the past. Like, we know he's stronger than this character. And then in this moment, you don't even see it happen. He literally is like, I ripped the card. Ow!
That whole plot
Yeah.
point seemed dumb to me. Raven's like, I'm gonna take on Hoth.
Yeah.
He's mine. Like, I'm gonna take him on.
I need
Like,
to take him down.
Yes. And then literally he fails in 2 seconds, gets stabbed, left for dead. And the Shepherd King's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to take care of this. And has to like step in, right?
Yeah, it was like manufactured urgency there, but we didn't even need it. We already had a sense of urgency with the midnight deadline.
I think that she literally put that in though because then Raven's almost dying and they could bring up the point that Raven's sister can heal just like the Shepherd King's sister. I would have rather Raven gotten his revenge if that's the way that she was going to go, or at least like put up more of a fight. I mean, good lord. And like, you hate Hoth. He is
he's a very hateable.
He's so
antagonist.
hateable. So not to get that sort of satisfaction.
Like,
I don't even
I remember now. Like, I was like, how do we defeat Hoth?
in the end, I'm still confused.
It's so annoying. He literally gets carried off by the trees.
Yes, I still don't really understand
You don't even
that.
see him die.
But like, he still has the maiden card. card. He's
Yeah.
still using it. So how do we know that I don't understand. I remember being like, wait, so is that it? Like, is he gone? Did the trees just...
Do you think she's trying to leave an opening for another sequel or a spin-off series or something?
Maybe, because I do think, you know what they say, like, if you don't literally see them dying on camera.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know in fantasy. So I was a bit like, wow, after all of that.
Yeah, you don't even get the satisfaction of seeing him actually die. He's just carried off by the trees.
Yeah. Lame.
But I love how they made Elm the king in the end, and like we're starting.
I didn't see that coming.
Really?
Nope. In like the whole first book, I was like, so Raven and Elsbeth are gonna have to rule the kingdom? That's gonna be
No, I mean Raven and Elspeth would be terrible.
I know!
I don't understand how he was the commander or the captain.
I know.
Like,
he was a terrible commander. He was never even around.
I know.
They didn't even like him. They had no loyalty towards him.
Like, honestly, between that and Chaol in Throne of Glass being the captain of the guard, like, such similar type things. You're just like, I don't know.
That's so true, and I'm not a fan of Chaol either. I mean, I'm only 2 books into Throne of Glass, so.
Yeah, I mean, you probably would end up liking him more. Maybe not.
Maybe
but they
they'll
do.
come around.
They're very similar. Like I read them the same way.
Yeah. But there are a lot of girls out there that like a military guy, so maybe it's appealing to that type of girl, which I am not that type of girl. Like the kind of girl that's like, ooh, a man in uniform. He never smiles. He never talks.
I can get through to him.
Yeah.
Even though, like,
no, she doesn't.
No, she doesn't. They don't even speak.
Why do they even like each other?
I don't know.
She's beautiful. We're in love now.
Yeah, they barely interact. And then the nightmares obviously taken over her body.
Yeah.
And they keep describing the fact that, like, she looks rough. She looks rough. Like, the nightmare doesn't care about her appearance.
She's possessed.
She's possessed, exactly. So Raven's looking at this, the love of his life.
Decrepit body. He's like, ooh, I still love you, man.
I'm like, no, you would look at that and be like, sorry, that's hard to get past.
If you ignore Elsbeth and Raven, the main characters, we loved it.
We loved it.
Truly every other character I loved, though. All the villains I loved. Ione should have been the main female character. She was so much more interesting, even from her very first introduction, which is through Elsbeth's perspective. Mm-hmm. She gets way more characterization than Elsbeth gets.
For sure.
You know, they do this whole thing like, she has a gap tooth, she's like, lives wild and free, she feels a lot of feelings, she's really compassionate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I know who she is.
Yeah.
Which is great because then later when she's under the influence of the Maiden card, you really feel it.
Yeah.
And there's a stark contrast there, character.
Yeah, and her relationships with Elm progressed so much more naturally.
So true.
And, like, they seem way more compatible for some reason. And you get sort of like snippets of how they've noticed each other for years and years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes it feel more like it's built up.
Feels more real.
It feels more real, yeah. Whereas Raven and Elspeth, you're like, what? But we loved it. We really liked it.
Yeah. A 4-star read, definitely worth your time.
Something a little different.
Yeah, I would recommend a physical book or an ebook over the audiobook version, personally. Mm-hmm. I'm really picky about narrators. Okay, so that is our review of the
Shepherd King series.
The Shepherd
by
King
Rachel Gillig. Gillig?
Is it Gillig? I guess it is.
We'll put that
sounds
down
right.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to our channel. We upload lots of book and beauty content, and we'd love to have you back.
See you next time.